Imagine a man standing at the summit of his life. He has everything: wealth, recognition, a family, a legacy. The world applauds him, yet when the noise fades, he is left alone with a chilling silence. He looks at his trophies, his achievements, the symbols of his success, and feels nothing. No joy, no pride, only a hollow echo where fulfillment should be. Why? Why does the fire of passion fade? Why do the colors of life drain into gray? Why does the heart, once so eager, grow weary of the very things it once desired? This is not just exhaustion. This is not mere boredom. This is the silent crisis of the modern soul, a sickness no doctor can diagnose, a hunger no meal can satisfy. The ancients called it acedia, the demon of noon, the shadow that falls when the sun is highest. Jung called it the loss of meaning. And perhaps at this very moment, you too have felt its weight. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man, brilliant, driven, relentless in his pursuit of success. He climbed ladders, broke barriers, checked every box society told him would bring happiness. Yet one day he woke to a terrifying realization. Nothing moved him anymore. Music was just noise. Love was just habit. Work was just routine. The world had become a flat, endless expanse, devoid of magic, devoid of wonder. At first he blamed the world. Life has lost its spark, he muttered. But deep down he feared the truth was worse. What if the spark was never in the world at all? What if it was always within him, and he had let it die? This is where our journey begins. Not with easy answers, but with a question so profound it shakes the foundation of our being. What do you do when the soul goes hungry? Do you feed it distractions? Do you numb it with pleasure, with busyness, with false purpose? Or do you dare to descend into the depths where the true self waits, buried beneath layers of expectation, fear, and forgotten dreams? Jung warned us. The foundation of all mental illness is the avoidance of legitimate suffering. And so the man in our story must face what he has been running from, the emptiness that whispers, "You have lived a life, but have you ever been alive?" The man could not unfeel the void. He tried. Oh, how he tried. He filled his days with noise, his nights with distraction. He chased new ambitions, new lovers, new philosophies, as if meaning could be caught like a train one had missed. But each time the thrill faded faster. Each time the emptiness returned, heavier than before. Then one sleepless night he did the unthinkable. He stopped running. He sat in the silence. He listened. And from the depths of his own mind a voice answered, not with comfort, but with a challenge. "You have spent your life building a persona the world admires, but who are you when no one is watching?" This was the beginning of his descent, not into madness, but into truth. Jung called it the shadow work, the painful, necessary journey of facing what we have disowned within ourselves, the parts we deem weak, shameful, or unworthy, the dreams we abandoned to please others, the passions we buried under should and must. Imagine standing before a mirror that does not reflect your face but your soul. What would you see? Would you recognize the person staring back? Or would you meet a stranger, one who once burned with curiosity, with love, with wild, untamed longing? A self that was told, "Be practical, grow up, stop dreaming." The man in our story saw this stranger, and the stranger asked him, "When did you trade your joy for approval? When did you forget that play is not just for children, but for the divine?" Here, the revelation began to dawn. The loss of fun, of passion, of meaning. It was never about the world shrinking. It was about the soul being silenced. Society tells us, "Achieve, acquire, ascend, then you will be happy." But what happens when you reach the peak and find only wind? When you hold the prize and feel nothing? The man realized he had been fed a lie, That fulfillment comes from external validation. But joy is not a destination, it is a manner of traveling. A child does not play to win, it plays to play. The moment we turn wonder into a transaction, we kill it. And so the crisis of nothing is fun anymore is, in truth, a rebellion. The soul's protest against a life lived on autopilot. A scream from the depths, "Wake up, remember, come home." The man stood at the edge of an abyss, not of rock and darkness, but of his own making. The walls were built of every yes he had said when he meant no. The floor paved with the bones of abandoned dreams, and in the center, waiting, stood his truest self, the one he had betrayed 1,000 times for the sake of being good, being normal, being acceptable. It spoke. "You have worn masks for so long, you've forgotten your own face." Silence. Then the dam broke. Tears came, not the polite kind, but the primal, shuddering sobs of a man grieving a life half-lived. He wept for the artist he had buried under spreadsheets, the poet silenced by practicality, the child who once marveled at clouds but now only checked the weather for convenience. And in that raw, unfiltered moment, he met himself for the first time in years. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." The man realized his despair had not been a curse, but a compass. The numbness was not emptiness, it was hunger. A hunger for real life. Not the scripted, sanitized version, but the messy, vibrant, terrifying aliveness he had been avoiding. He had spent years asking, "Why does nothing bring me joy?" The real question was, what have I refused to feel? Because joy is not found, it is allowed. It is the child within still waiting to play, the soul still whispering its desires beneath the noise of should. So he did the bravest thing. He stopped. He left the meetings that drained him. He picked up the guitar gathering dust in the corner. He walked without a destination. He sat in the park and watched birds for no reason at all. At first it felt foolish, then terrifying, because to choose joy is to face the fear that you don't deserve it. But slowly something miraculous happened. Colors brightened, laughter returned. Small moments, steam rising from coffee, a stranger's smile, the smell of rain, pulsed with a quiet magic. He had not found happiness. He had unlearned his own resistance to it. Here is the truth the world will never tell you. Your boredom is sacred. Your numbness is a signal. Your despair is not a failure. It is the birth cry of a self you've yet to become. The modern world is a machine that runs on distraction and denial. But the soul cannot be tricked. It will starve itself to get your attention. So if nothing feels fun anymore, ask yourself, what have I abandoned in myself? Where have I traded authenticity for approval? When did I stop believing in wonder? The answer is not out there. It is in the parts of you you've been too busy, too afraid, or too grown up to acknowledge. This is not the end. It is the beginning. The man in our story is not special. He is you. He is me. He is every person who has ever stood at the crossroads between living and existing. So tonight, when the world goes quiet, ask yourself the most dangerous and liberating question of all. If I were not afraid, what would I do? And then, do it. Not tomorrow, not when it's safe. Jung's remedy, individuation, the unshackling from borrowed identities. But here's the catch. Society rewards conformity, not authenticity. So we silence the whisper. We numb it with Netflix, with shopping, with frenetic productivity. Yet the whisper grows louder. This is not your life. Ask yourself, when did you last feel alive? Not amused, not distracted, alive. Was it watching a sunset, arguing for a cause, creating something only you could create? That's your soul's compass. The numbness. It's the distance between that truth and the life you're living. This isn't depression. It's divine discontent. The friction of your soul outgrowing its cage. The hobbies, the relationships, the routines that once fit now chafe because you've changed. And that's terrifying. So we cling to the familiar, even as it drains us. But stagnation is a slower death than the uncertainty of growth. The way out? Sacred demolition. Tear down the facades. Question everything. Whose dreams am I chasing? What would I do if no one were watching? This isn't selfishness, it's survival. In part 2, we'll map the escape route, how to rebuild from the wreckage, step by step. What if this void is the universe's way of saying, you are ready? Ready for a life that doesn't fit Instagram. Ready to trade approval for authenticity. The path won't be linear. There will be false starts. But on the other side, a life that doesn't just look good, it feels like coming home.